Blue, what are you doing? What's my kitty doing? Huh? Can you say hi to Booktube? You were so chatty this morning. Oh, I'm sorry I drove you away. Yeah, you're a good boy. Hey, Booktube! It's the end of 2021. My name is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. I'm so glad to say goodbye to 2021, and I'm also just really grateful that the wind is not blowing for the first time, and you have no idea how many days. It was literally howling through our house yesterday. It was crazy winds. So I wanted to capture a little snow footage for you, and of course we have to have Blue, and since I can't, persuade him to come down to the basement when I'm making videos, this might be a slightly longer Friday Reads video. That's okay, right? So just really briefly, I finished A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I found it so moving this time and really saw some things in it that I hadn't before. And I also watched all of Katie at Books and Things. She did a read along of this, and while I didn't do the read along because I pretty much always read this like the week leading up to Christmas, I went back and watched all of her videos, and they were excellent. So I hope she encouraged some of you to read A Christmas Carol, or maybe I finally talked you into it, I don't know, but I'm really thankful that those videos are out there. Of course, I also finished a poem for every day of the year. Next up is an ancient play, Lysistrata by Aristophanes, and you guys are very interested in Lysistrata based on some of the feedback I've got. So if you're not familiar with, as I was not, Aristophanes, he lived between 446 and 386 BC, and I don't know, like some people think he's the father of comedy. This particular play was first performed in 411 BC. So I have to say, now this is a modern translation by Douglas Parker. So there's part of me that feels like I still haven't really read Lysistrata. There were so many kind of modern phrases that we would have used, that we would use today, that I'm pretty sure weren't around in 411 BC or wouldn't have made a lot of sense. Now, if you're not familiar with what it's about, I'm going to give you a little brief overview, but I have to talk about sex, so I'm just giving you a heads up in advance because I don't normally talk about sex on my channel. So what happens is the women of Athens are sick of their men and their sons going off to war. This is taking place during the Peloponnesian Wars, and they convince, Lysistrata convinces a woman who's from Sparta that they're fighting against to like convince the women in Sparta to do the same thing that they're doing in Athens, which is basically they take over the temple of Athena, and they tell the men that like no sex, no, like we're not gonna fool around essentially until you stop this war. I think it is really also, though, important to note that the treasury was inside the temple that they took over. So they couldn't actually afford the war, right? And so there's a part of me that feels like, wow, this play is really feminist and progressive, but at the same time, like, yeah, they also, I mean, they literally prevented them from spending any more money or they would have to find money from another source aside from this temple that they've camped out in. Now, it is, even the modern translation, like it's very funny. More erection jokes than you will find. You'll be hard pressed to find anywhere else. I don't mean to use the word hard. But yeah, so tons of, I can't actually fathom this play on this, on a stage, or there's, a scene where a young girl who represents peace comes out. I think she's naked. It seemed like that. And they're like using her body as a map to decide, what Sparta gets and what the Athenians get, that sort of thing. But nonetheless, Lysistrata is the leader of these women, and she bands them together, and they take an oath, and it's very interesting. So, but again, like, there's a part of me that feels like I still haven't really read it because it seems so modern that I feel like I'm missing out maybe on, I don't know, like, yeah, I have mixed feelings about it, because like I said, I just don't know if I've really read it, because it's just so modern, that I think something is lost a little bit. But I could be wrong. I could read another translation in the future and be like, no, like that's it. It's pretty much the same. Now, I did watch a modern, another modern interpretation of Lysistrata, in the 2015 film by Spike Lee called Chirac. The film takes place in Chicago. They say the Trojans and the Spartans, which, whatever, okay, all right, go along with it. I mean, I think it was really ambitious and brave of Spike Lee, like, because he tries to keep to Aristophanes' story. Samuel Jackson plays essentially the chorus of the film, which is, a little bit wild. And but one of the things that I thought was really interesting in the translation that I read. So in the translation that I read, Lysistrata doesn't have a husband or a boyfriend. So I'm like, well, what's the big deal for you to give up sex, right? I mean, no man ever comes and tries to beat down the doors of the temple to get after her. Some other men do, but anyway, in the film, she does have a boyfriend, and she just doesn't want to see him dead, essentially. And also she's, hears about, again, innocent children being caught in the way, and accidentally killed, and things like that. So she bands together both Trojans and Spartans and women, and they take an oath. And it's crazy, out of a sense of ambition in trying to turn an ancient play into something modern. There are some scenes that are so unnecessary, I felt, and really just kind of made me gag a little bit. And some things were just, as Jason put it, when it's not being gonzo. And there is kind of that feel to it. I mean, it, to some extent, it feels almost like a musical at times. It's very, very interesting how Spike Lee took this play and tried to make it speak to today. So anyway, enough about that. If you've read Lysistrata, I would love to hear what you think. Should I read a different translation? What translation would you recommend if that's the case? And if you've seen Chirac, I would love to hear what you thought about that. The other book that I have been reading, and I have fewer than 40 pages to go, is Mark Spragg's The Fruit of Stone. So I should have this done today. So we'll chat more about it next week. There are parts of it that I'm really, really enjoying, and parts of it that I have mixed feelings about. But some big events have just happened in the book, so I'm like, okay, I've got to finish it to find out how this all plays out. But anyway, so I think watching Power of the Dog twice in 2 weeks maybe got me in the mood for some westerns there. Now, as to what I'm going to be reading next, Taking Tea with Catherine is doing kind of a, I don't know, she doesn't have a hashtag for it or anything like that I'm aware of, but she's having sort of an event in January to read books about books. I have read a lot of books about books, but of course, I always have more. So she suggests reading one fiction and one nonfiction, but I just wanted to share with you what I plan on reading for that. So the first book I'm going to be reading for this is Paris by the Book, Liam Callanan. Sorry about that. So this is going to be my novel. And then my nonfiction book is a book that one of you sent me, and I still don't understand how you knew that I've wanted to read this book for so long. I could not believe it when I opened it up. And that is Time Was Soft There, A Paris Sojourn at Shakespeare and Company by Jeremy Mercer. And I am so, look, there's even a cat books Paris on the cover. And Shakespeare and Company, which is just, you know, a landmark, like a landmark bookstore. So anyway, I'm super excited to read both these books, and I thought Catherine had a great idea. So I decided to, like I said, you know, I just, of course, happen to have 2 books about Paris that are also about books. So I'm really, really excited to read those. And finally, I just wanted to share with you another gift that one of you sent me. I didn't read it this year because I'm saving it for next Christmas, which is Christmas with Charles Dickens. And it's just such a charming little book, and I could have read it this year, but I just, like I said, I'm excited about having like a Christmas thing to read next year that I haven't read. So yeah, so that was great. Now, I did want to ask you guys this question, and don't take offense, okay? Like, I can do a survey, or we can just say no, like, tell me what you think. But I mean, you know, this was just like a miracle, kind of like, I mean, I can't believe one of you knew that I hadn't read this and knew that I didn't have it and sent it to me. Like, that's amazing. So I was thinking about setting up some kind of wish list on a site like Book Depository or Amazon. I don't know. And it's not because I want you to send me books. Like, you guys don't have to send me books. Please don't think that. But I'm just thinking, like, well, if you did want to send me a book, wouldn't it be nice to know that you'd be sending me something that I don't already have? I'm still not totally sure if I feel comfortable with it or not. But anyway, so like, tell me what you think. If you're like, no way, Kelly, like, that's fine, that's cool. But yeah, just let me know. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are. Booktube, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing 2021 with me. And I am really excited about the books we're going to be talking about in 2022. You can follow me or friend me on Goodreads and Instagram, and those links are down below. So be sure to do that. And yeah, Booktube, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and Happy New Year. Bring on 2022. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.